You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, bar, arcade, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
Today on the Game Marks podcast, we play the sequel to a double future from year one when we play Legends of Wrestling 2. Will we play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
All this, plus gaming news, GMP64 and Clash at the Feast. Plug in, put on those nostalgia goggles because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now.
And now, the Game Marks. Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, presented by the Major Pod Network. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I am the man of 1,001 nicknames, Mr. Anything is Feasible. This week going by Six Shooter. If you don't know, then you won't know. And we are playing Legends of Wrestling 2.
And as always, we love to hear from you guys, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen, and join the conversation on social media at GameMarksPod and on Discord at GameMarksPod.com/Discord. Georgie, Six Shooter, how you doing? How you feeling? You good?
I'm better now. Better now?
All right.
Yeah. It was an interesting week. A little hard on St. Patty's Day.
St. Patty's Day hit you a little too hard, right, on your stream?
A little bit. St. Patty's Day didn't hit nearly as hard as the Wednesday after, or as the Thursday after.
But did it hit as hard as WCW NWO Thunder last week?
Nothing will ever hit as hard as that. That was a hangover in a game, just fully. It was just no thank you.
So we're both sticking with our future endeavors of WCW and NWO Thunder. That closed out WCW for us. We have some handheld games to play, I guess, here and there. We have the re-release of Nitro that came out after Thunder with the same roster. So we're not done yet. Plus, we kind of want to go back and revisit some games. We got some stuff in the works.
Yeah, little plans in the works here. But, hey, John, did you know that we do a little thing here called the Streamer Spotlight?
That's right. And March is still going on. So right now, twitch.tv/BrettVaa, BRETTVAA. Brett is the Streamer Spotlight for the month of March, so go give him a follow.
And of course, how could we not start this podcast without talking about GMP64? We are but a few weeks away, actually. And as we are recording this, as you are listening to this, we are a week away from the next live pay-per-view, Armageddon, on Twitch, starting at 8 p.m. March 28th.
And not only that, but that night we have a big announcement about the state of the Game Marks podcast. No. It's not anything bad.
We got fired.
No, we definitely did not get fired. It's just a big opportunity we're going to bring to you guys to just have more Game Marks content. So stay tuned for that.
But John, I think it is time for us to hop on over to some gaming news. Some big things have been happening, and you actually, we're going to have a little talking point after we talk about the gaming news.
Let's go.
Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at VGFgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
After months of delays, Universal Studios Japan finally held its official grand opening for Super Nintendo World last week. This theme park is set to be just the first in a line of them across various Universal Studios locations, though it seems like the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has significantly delayed construction elsewhere in the world. Super Nintendo World is a multi-level theme park featuring rides and attractions largely themed to the Mario franchise, with Bowser's Castle, Mario Kart, and a Yoshi ride, among others, also available from the start. PlayStation officially revealed the first details for the next-gen PlayStation VR controllers on the PS5. Notably gone are the wands of the original PSVR, as the design now features an orb-like shape with buttons and triggers in the middle. If you think about the ways in which PS5 DualSense controls improved on the PS4's DualShock 4 control, that's the sort of leap it looks like the next-gen PSVR controllers are making. More specifically, the new PS5 VR controllers include adaptive triggers, haptic feedback, finger touch detection, and a tracking ring, and the aforementioned action buttons and analog sticks. Now, Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 6 is now live, and it seems there are already quite a few exciting additions to the game. However, a new leak suggests that Fortnite could soon be getting one of its strangest weapons ever. Fortnite leaker HypeX has revealed art and text for the new Recycler weapon that apparently sucks up ammo and materials to create some kind of junk bomb. This weapon has technically not been revealed by Epic Games just yet, but it did appear in the game's new Battle Pass trailer, meaning fans can definitely expect to see it sometime in the near future. And that's all the gaming news we have. Check back next week.
Ooh, Johnny. Now, you and I talk a lot off of the recording of the podcast, and you had mentioned that you were perhaps getting a little itchy to dive back into Fortnite.
Yeah, until I actually saw gameplay, some streamers play it, saw the map, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm good. I'm good.
I wanted to know how you were feeling with the announcement of the new Primal setting theme and changes to the map, and
Yeah, no. I actually looked at the map and I saw like one place I recognized from what I stopped maybe like season 7 or 8. And yeah, no, I'm good. I've hovered around the Epic Games button a few times on the PC, and I just haven't pulled the trigger, and I don't plan on it.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I need something different to pull me back into Fortnite. Like, something has to change drastically. It can't just be, it's a new battle pass.
No, see, I'm opposite. I want the change to be the original game back.
No, that's what I want. What they're doing now is not enough of a difference. But I feel like if they went back to the original, Matt, that's a huge difference. Like, that's
Yeah, I agree. But I think Universal Studios Japan getting Super Nintendo World, that's like something we would have asked on like Question of the Week. Like, what theme park did you want made out of a video game? I don't think we have, but that's so cool having like a real Bowser's Castle and Mario Kart, a Yoshi ride.
We have the budget in the pod funds. We can take a trip, right?
We can make it happen, right? It's a tax write-off. Maybe
even better.
Maybe we'll reach out to our friends at the Major Pod Network and they'll fund our trip for research.
I say it's about video games. Let's go.
Mark, we'll buy the Blue Chew and the Manscaped if you let us go. All right, but Georgie, is it time for our favorite section?
Oh, it is. It is now time for the Question of the Week, brought to you by Johnny. When I say gamer food, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Oh, Mountain Dew Code Red and Taco Bell.
Exactly. For far too long, there's been this stigma about people who play video games that we're all out of shape and overweight. That's why we are proud to be partnering with Eat Right to bring fresh, high-quality, chef-prepared meals right to our listeners.
Eat Right is veteran-owned and offers delicious conventional keto and plant-based meal delivery directly to your door. Right now, you can use our code GameMarks to get 60% off your first order.
If you want to feel right, you better eat right. Guys, this is it. This is what it's all about. We are here to break the stigma around video game players being overweight and out of shape. I mean, John and I both, different points in our lives, have struggled with our weight. Obviously, the pandemic has hit everyone really, really hard. It's hard to keep the weight off just when you're not able to go out as much as you could. But now it's not so hard. You got Eat Right helping you out. High quality, delicious meals. I mean, John, you have
so good.
More experience with Eat Right than I have. So
when you get these, they're thin, so you don't think it's a lot of food. But when you put them in the microwave and they puff up and it steams itself, so the food's not dry. It has a lot of flavor. Like I've been telling you, like the salmon was so good. You have to try the salmon. The maple bourbon steak. These are gourmet meals that you're better than any meal prep service I've ever had, and I've tried quite a few. But rather than sitting in front of your TV screen eating Doritos like every video gamer gets the perception that that's all they do, maybe pop open, some maple bourbon steak and that you could eat right. But George, tell them about the promotion that we have going on right now.
Well, there's actually 2 promotions going on. Eat Right has a promotion where for the entire month of March, that means if you're hearing this right now and you use the code GameMarks, you can get 70% off. I know the ad said 60, but this is an updated ad now. It's a special promotion for March. 70% off your first set of meals.
That's like unreal.
Oh, yeah, it's an incredible deal. And in addition to that, we've also got a promotion going on where if you use our code, GameMarks, and show us proof on any form of social media with the hashtag GamerGains, you will receive an exclusive gym backpack designed by the player 1 and player 2 of podcasting, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Oh, that's us. I like it. I might have to rock one to the gym also. But anyway, George, question of the week.
All right, so question of the week is a weekly segment where you ask us a question. If we pick your question, you are sent a Game Marks podcast prize pack. Last week, the question was, if you could take any athlete or celebrity and have them trained to be a professional wrestler, who would you pick past or present? Johnny and I gave our answers, but we had quite a number of people on social media give us their answers. We had Jamie Taylor said, look what Shaq was able to do with limited training. He could have been an absolute superstar wrestler.
I agree.
Jesse Morgan says, at the height of Mike Tyson's boxing career, he would have been amazing to see what he did in the ring.
Okay.
And you know what? As the resident UFC buff, I'll let you take the last one.
Well, that's why I picked this one. Virtual Suplex says George St. Pierre. And did you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier this week?
I did. It's good to see GSP still making those cameos and stuff. I mean, he's just like the most badass, but like soft spoken, nicest guy. Like it's always those guys where like they're always like so soft spoken. You're like, this guy could just take my head off right now if he wanted to.
Yeah, we're not going to give away any spoilers, but he played a great role. Now, the question this week is actually also from Jamie Taylor, and I thought this was interesting, and we could open up a little discussion about this. But what animal has never been used in a gimmick but should have been? Or should be?
Oh. So
we've seen a lot of things here. Tiger.
We had Pepe, right? Pepe was
the little chihuahua.
Pepe was the little chihuahua from Al Snow.
Rest in peace. Al Snow
ate him. Al Snow. And then we had...
Obviously, the
Tiger.
British Bulldogs.
We had the Matilda and...
Yep. We had a snake.
Oh my God. We had snakes. Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, right? I mean, we've seen Sting with the Raven.
Yep.
Taker as well.
When they've done shows overseas, haven't people come out on like camels and elephants and stuff before too?
I think so, yeah.
Mountie used to come in on a horse.
Didn't Bobby Heenan come out backwards on something once?
Oh, yeah. He came out backwards on something. He was like grabbing the tail. Oh, we saw... Does this one count? Does Eric Rowan's spider count?
Yeah, why not?
It wasn't real.
It wasn't real, but, whatever. Actually, Victoria came out with one also in TNA.
Oh, yeah, the tarantula.
Oh, man. What about, like, a giraffe?
This is just making me think that there's like... When you think of animals as like a gimmick in wrestling, you really don't think of how many there's been, but there's been a ton of them.
No, but here we go. I got one. And it's the most obvious I could think of. I want to see Bear Country come out with actual bears.
I mean, what about like? Because I feel like it's got to be big. Like you can't come out with like this is my pet hamster. That's like
I mean, you
like
could.
Is it something meant to be where it's like it's something cute, or is it like an animal to like strike fear? Like
It could be like,
a,
Philip Cardigan coming out with his pet iguana. I don't know.
Oh, that's a good one. Wait, I have an idea. So, we've said we've talked about tigers, but what about if someone came out with like a savanna cat or like an ocelot, like something that you may not think, like obviously you think of like a tiger or a lion, like that, those things are like nuts. Like they're huge creatures, but like savanna cats, and I mean, maybe not an ocelot, but like a savanna cat's like a domesticated cat, but it just looks insane.
Yeah, that just looks like a tiger or whatever, a cheetah.
And an ocelot obviously is just like,
as long as it's not going to jump into the crowd and start biting and clawing people.
That's true. We're going to start a spin-off mock tag team called Boar Country, and we're going to come out with boars.
Hakuna Matata.
There you go.
All right, good question, but now we also throw this out to you, the fans. What animal has never been used in a gimmick but should have been? Jamie Taylor, message us on social media and claim your prize. George, is it time?
I'm inching closer to the end of the diving board. My feet are hanging off the edge. All I need is that little push.
Here's the push. Let's go.
Are you sick of drinking the same old boring coffee with the same old boring flavors? Well, Marks, it's time for you to check out Bones Coffee Company. Bones Coffee isn't just a drink that wakes you up in the morning. It's a full flavor experience. Small batch roasts that are made to order so that every order is guaranteed to be fresh. Unbelievable, all-natural flavors in every single bag. Some of our favorites are blueberry, paradise pie, and chocolate raspberry. But if you're not into the flavored coffees, they've got their single origin series featuring coffee beans from the greatest coffee growing regions in the world. Visit GameMarksPod.com/coffee to place your order and try the world's freshest small batch coffee. All right, John, Bones Coffee. Can't speak highly enough about them. You know, we recently discovered that some of the flavors actually can be used for some steak rubs.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, a whole other world of use for these coffee beans. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, it's delicious coffee, but it also can elevate, any kind of meal. You can use it, ground up the coffee grounds, use it in a dessert, use it as a steak rub. It's nuts.
Yeah, I've actually been taking your advice from what you said a few weeks ago, and I've been mixing, and the From Dusk Till Donuts and the Cinnabon work so well together.
Oh yeah. I've heard there's a lot of crazy mixtures. People using the strawberry cheesecake in the Cinnabon, strawberry cheesecake and the cannoli. Just it's a lot. It's a lot of flavors happening, but man, it just makes like these new combinations that are just unbelievably good.
Now I want more coffee. I already had a cup today, but thank you.
Yeah, me too. But I guess I'll go just make more. But
let's get hyped.
Now time for the hashtag deep dive. So, Legends of Wrestling 2, released November 25th, 2002 for the Game Boy Advance, November 26th, 2002 for the GameCube and the PS2, and December 5th, 2002 for the Xbox. Developed by Acclaim Studios, Salt Lake City. And the Game Boy Advance version was developed by Powerhead Games, published by our best friends.
Ugh.
Best track record on the pod.
Love to hate them.
Over at Acclaim Entertainment. And this is the sequel to the 2001 game Legends of Wrestling, which is available in our archives. And this game has a pretty large roster.
It's huge.
So this has all of the wrestlers from the first game plus 25 wrestlers that were not featured in the first game. So this roster is huge.
Yeah, so there's actually 76 wrestlers in this game, plus there's some like jobbers thrown in. So it's probably close to 100 people in this game.
That's unbelievable. Now, this is the last game developed by Acclaim Salt Lake City Studio before its closure in December 2002. Now, this studio is also responsible for ECW Hardcore Revolution, Anarchy Rules, WWF Warzone, and Attitude, In Your House, WrestleMania, the arcade game, and other WWF style games.
And also, usually when we have like 3 different versions of the game, like GameCube, Xbox, PlayStation 2, there's some differences. It seems like these are all almost identical. The PlayStation and the Xbox versions include video interviews with the legends, and these are exclusive interviews that were filmed just for Legends of Wrestling 2. Now, also the European version of this game include 4 additional legends from the UK, and that is Kendo Nagasaki, Big Daddy, Mick McManus, and Giant Haystacks. So that's kind of cool.
Wow. I mean, I guess that makes a ton of sense. If you're going to feature a game, you want to have a well-rounded roster of people from all over the world, especially if you're featuring you're going to exclusively release a European version. You want to feature wrestlers from that region.
So poking around this roster, it seems like any legend they could get their hand on that wasn't signed exclusively to WWE at the time, they signed.
I say, but there are some big names here that are not included. I mean, right off the bat, the first one that I looked for, because I know you, was I was looking for Sting.
Yeah, but 2002, he does make his appearance in Showdown, so you just have to wait a couple years for it. But I feel like the Xbox releases were always after the PlayStation and the GameCube. It was like, and as an Xbox user at the time, and like your friends were playing like a certain game, you're always just like, oh, like I have to wait another week. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, well, I also feel like at the time, PlayStation, GameCube, those platforms ran more similarly to a game console at the time. And you got to remember, original Xbox comes out, that runs more like a computer. So it's almost like you're playing, you have to mock this game up to run on a PC and less on a gaming console, which, now seems so far, like so simple and easy to do. But, back then, original Xbox comes out, it's kind of a game changer in terms of hardware and performance and like the OS of the console itself.
Yeah, and it was a big deal that this game was even on the Xbox. So,
oh, absolutely.
I guess to each their own. But I was saying before about how the roster's so big. It's all the older superstars. I mean, yeah, there's Eddie Guerrero. There's a few recent names in there and like recognizable names. But I remember personally in 2002, like looking at this roster and being like, I think I'm going to skip this one because why do I want to play as Bob Orton when I could play as his son, who's a lot cooler in this game? Or I could play as the current roster, not Ted DiBiase and Georgie Animal Steel. Like I think, I don't know, a game like this has to be hard to market towards a wrestling crowd that is really likes the new generation, like the current product.
Yeah,
if you're not familiar
you're
with
going
old
to pick
school.
up. You're looking at this game, and then also on the PlayStation 2 is Shut Your Mouth, and
right. So a lot of competition there that they're just not going to compete with, being a WWE title.
So what you just said makes perfect sense. Why would you pick a game where you could play as Bob Orton when you could pick up Shut Your Mouth and Randy Orton's in there, also with people like Brock Lesnar and DDP and
yeah, I mean, I can't completely hate that because there are like us now. Like if I got that game at age 32 with older wrestlers, I'd be like, this is awesome. So I'm looking at it as the perspective of someone who's young and someone who may not know what the territories were, may not know how this career mode runs, being like, well, why am I stuck to these 5 regions? I don't understand. Why can't I go to the Garden and have a ladder match?
Well, the most jarring thing to me, and we'll talk about this a little bit later when we get into the art style, is that for me, if you're not familiar with how some of these wrestlers looked when they were younger, you're not going to obviously so peek behind the curtain here. We're jumping ahead a little bit. Andre, super recognizable. You know who Andre is. Like we'll just talk about the people on the cover so we don't go too far in. Like Hulk Hogan's on the cover, Bret Hart's on the cover, Scott Steiner's on the cover, Andre's on the cover. The one that threw me for a loop, and it took me a second to realize it was him, because I forgot he had this. The Jerry Lawler in this game is goatee Jerry Lawler. Old
school Jerry Lawler.
It like slipped my mind because I'm so used to it most of my life. As the few matches that he did when he was doing commentary, and for all of his commentary career, he was mostly clean shaven. Like, yeah, maybe sometimes
right.
he had a little bit of scruff, but like, you know, when we're talking about like matches with Andy Kaufman and stuff like that, he's got that goatee on. And I was just like, I totally forgot about that.
All right, so perfect segue right there. This game has a pretty decent career mode. So in this mode, you take a wrestler through 5 different territories or regions, as they're called: Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, Southwest, and Pacific. And in each one, you have specific storylines and you meet different promoters and you win. You know, you try to win the titles of that promotion. And once you win all of the titles within those 5 U.S. regions, you go to the world regions and you compete for the world title. Go figure. But as you go, the promoters are unlocked once you finish that region and you're able to actually play with them in the game. And there's one that bears a striking resemblance to a certain VKM that we know. But certain players also have certain storylines. So, for example, if you use Jerry Lawler in the Southeast region, it's based on his feud with Andy Kaufman. So there are those little like Easter egg tidbits you might not know unless you play through the career with almost everybody. Obviously, unless you look them up at the time. But also, Andy Kaufman's in this game. I think that's really cool.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. Now, when we're talking about game types, you know, John already spoke briefly about the career mode, but, you know, when you're at the main menu, classic mainstay of the show, you got your exhibition mode. You've got your career mode. You have a creator wrestler mode, which I guess in itself adds more wrestlers to the roster. So now we're well over 100. You have your tournament, your shop, which is how you unlock some extra things. Like there's some cheats and arenas and things like that. You have a theater, which is what we touched on earlier, where there's those pre-recorded videos and messages. There's also like concept art and stuff in there. It's the kind of things that you would expect, but those videos are so cool.
Yeah.
And then within the exhibition mode, you have your versus 3-way dance, which I wish more games referred to it as the 3-way dance and the 4-way dance. Like, I feel like that's such like a classic term that just like kind of is like not used as often. Granted, triple threat fatal 4-way sound way more badass, but you have a battle royal, cage match, and a ladder match. You also have options for a 6-man tag, 8-man tag, 6 or 8-way tag, which is 3 or 4 different teams versus each other. And then this is something that I thought was really, really cool. Every single match, regardless of what it is, has the option to be a special guest referee match.
Yeah. And also, you could just change the referee if you don't feel like making it someone like an actual wrestler. You could just change it to being either someone who resembles, in my mind, like a Dawn Marie or a Francine wearing like nothing and then a ref shirt.
I don't know what the hell that ref is.
Or just a bigger bald man who you would imagine would be a referee around the time that all these guys were wrestling.
Now, within the shop, you can bet your earned green coins in the gambling mode to win red and blue coins. And then you use the red and blue coins plus the green coins to unlock wrestlers and arenas, clothing abilities, cheats, concept art. We talked about that. The theater, again, mentioned about all the FMVs. But John, we got a lot of wrestler names here. Do you want to take the week off? I'll do this one.
Oh, okay. But before you do, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
All right, so your roster starts us off with Abdullah the Butcher, Andre the Giant, Andy Kaufman, Bam Bam Bigelow, Baron Von Raschke, Bell Jackson, Big John Studd, Bob Backlund, Cowboy Bob Orton, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Bret the Hitman Hart, Nasty Boy Brian Knobbs, Brian Pillman, Bruno Sammartino, British Bulldog, David Von Erich, Don Morocco, Dory Funk Jr., Dynamite Kid, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, Eddie Guerrero, Fritz Von Erich, George the Animal Steel, Giant Haystacks, which we talked about was a UK only, The Grand Wizard, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Harley Race, Hiro Natsume, Hulk Hogan, The Iron Sheik, Ivan Koloff, Ivan Putski, Jerry the King Lawler, Nasty Boy Jerry Sags, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, The Mouth of the South Jimmy Hart, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Kendo Nagasaki, which again, UK only, Kerry Von Erich, Kevin Von Erich, Killer Kowalski, King Kong Bundy, Coco Beware, Captain Lou Albano, Michael Von Erich, Mick McManus, which again, UK only, Mil Mascaris, Mr. Fuji, Nikolai Volkov, One Man Gang, Owen Hart, Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, Randall Schmandel, Rick Martel, Rick Steiner, Ricky Morton, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Road Warrior Animal, Road Warrior Hawk, Robert Gibson, Rocky Johnson, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Sabu, Scott Steiner, Scotty McDougal, The Sheik, Big Daddy, Shirley Crabtree, again, UK only, Sid Vicious, Dr. Death Steve Williams, Superstar Billy Graham, Ted DiBiase, Terry Funk, Tex McGraw, Tito Santana, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, and Tony the Boss Pavarotti.
And that's, that's the guy we said looks awfully familiar in his gray suit. Now, I'll take you through the rings and arenas. Very distinct
walk.
Yeah. I'll take you through the rings and arenas here. A lot of these aren't unlocked from the start, but you can get them through using your coins or from unlocking them in the career mode. You have Mexico City, Montreal, Cairo, Rome, Fiji, Moscow, Orange Amp Dome. Now, I don't believe that's Orange Amps as in the guitar amps. Stars and Stripes, Tendra Dome, Cantina Center, Gym, Rec Center, Spear Dome, Small Dome, and Tokyo Dome. I'm sorry, just Tokyo, not Tokyo Dome. Now, these aren't like we're used to seeing like real arenas in games, like this one models after the Garden, this one models after the Tokyo Dome. These are actually all just, I guess, themed arenas. They're a little, I don't want to say childish. They're just not very realistic. Like Fiji, there's bamboo everywhere and tiki heads. It's just not what you would see normally in like a wrestling game, which is cool to have. I just think they should be like more authentic arenas, which they actually improve on in the next game, so whatever. But George, this roster is gigantic, but also included are 4 additional costumes for every superstar. Once we noticed that was kind of cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so, example is Hulk Hogan. You have 3 versions of him, which are just like what you would expect to see for Hulk Hogan. And then you have the NWO style one, which is just blah.
Yeah, so no, they can't include obviously the WWE, WCW logos anywhere in this game. So that's, I think, what it's lacking. A lot of authenticity.
The branding.
Yeah. Like Hogan's shirt just said Hogan in a basic font. It wasn't an NWO shirt. It didn't say Hollywood. It was just kind of lacking kind of everywhere with I don't know. But then on the other hand, you look at Bret Hart, his gear looked awesome. He had the all pink that we used. Check out Clash at the Feast for that one. Scott Steiner, I think, popped me the most because he used to wear the gear with his face on it. But in the game, the gear is actually his in-game CGI'd face on his trunk. So you just see his face repeated and small, like right over his crotch.
It's so funny. It's very... I guess it keeps you immersed in the style of the game, but if you're going and expecting one thing, and then you see that, I don't know. But like the likeness is not bad for a lot of these guys. I mean, Andre looks like Andre. Terry Funk looks like Terry Funk.
Let's get into that. Let's get into the character models and art style here.
All right. So everyone's big.
Everyone's huge. Almost all stars,
like massively big.
I would say almost all stars but on a bigger scale, if that makes sense. Like they're, if you're 6 foot, you're 6 foot. You're not going to be exaggerated over the top, but you're just like big.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. There's just something not comical. There's just very interesting build to all the wrestlers. Like everyone's just like super top heavy. Like everyone looks like they skipped leg day in this game. I don't.
Yeah, like
I don't get why
Hogan's got the whatever inch pythons, but in this game, his arm is like literally bigger than Andre's head.
So I understand if you're trying to like. I'm trying to think of the right word. Like I understand if you're trying to make these guys look larger than life.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a limit where you go from larger than life to comically large.
It's
This is like on the border.
I don't know. You know what bothers me the most, and that's the crowd.
Yeah.
Because it's very repeated. You have like 3 white shirts sitting in a row, then the same shirt next to the same shirt. There's just no, I don't know. At least it has like the crowd signs and all of that we're used to. But then again, this is an Acclaim game. So once we get into like what it comes down to, it is very familiar from like the Warzone and the attitude. The way, like the timing of the moves, everything just takes so long to set up. You can't just do a move and go to the next move. You have to do a move. Then you slowly will get up from that move. Then you have to reset. Then you guys have to walk towards each other again. It's just very slow gameplay.
Yeah, this game has a very nice package. Like, it's presented very nicely, but like, I don't know, it just felt like it under-delivered in like certain aspects of it, and
But I think it had to, because just think if it did have an NWO logo. Just think if it did have all the branding, Hulk Hogan, better entrance videos. The entrances were cool. They had good entrances. It wasn't like where you walk down and do the taunt like Legends 1. It was
like wide pans of the crowd. Like it was nice.
Yeah, you got some like during certain big moves you had like the arena would spin. Like there was some things here that were good. It was just missing, I don't know. Missing the branding maybe.
It's just like, yeah, it's just like that one little thing that you're just like, I don't. Now, speaking of branding, let's talk about the cover artwork here, because there are 3 different versions of the cover art here, but they're all pretty much the same.
Yeah, so different colors.
You have your cover, Hulk Hogan, always big on the left, very reminiscent of last week's episode where he's taking up a large amount of the screen here. And then you have shots of Bruno Sammartino, Andre the Giant, Roddy Piper, Jerry Lawler, Bret Hart, Scott Steiner, Sid Vicious. But depending on what console you bought the game for is the like color overlay and the color effect of the cover. So PlayStation 2 has red, Nintendo GameCube has that purpley blue from like the Nintendo GameCube logo, and Xbox has green. So, you know, the colors are tied to the consoles. I don't necessarily associate red with PlayStation, but I understand why.
Yeah, I mean, green is clearly Xbox and purple, blue is clearly GameCube. So I guess red or yellow would be the 2 options here, and Hogan's already wearing yellow. So, you know, they need the little contrast.
It ties in. Now,
and for some reason,
back cover,
I always felt like PlayStation got the more recognition out of these 3 anyway. So the PlayStation 2 one, you got red and yellow. What's Hogan's colors? Red and yellow. There you go.
That's true. I mean, it would have been cool if they had a different person on the cover for each game, but I understand Hogan is arguably one of the most recognizable wrestlers in all of, I'm not even going to just say all of wrestling. It just like
he is
just
the most
iconic. He transcends like everybody, whether you watch wrestling or not, you know who Hulk Hogan is, whether you know what he looks like or you know his name.
Yeah, I agree. I think everyone would.
But you want to hop on over and talk about this back cover?
Yeah, so the back cover, you have Andre and Hogan staring each other down saying, "The Mania is back." I wonder what Mania that is. Over 65 legends, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Roddy Piper, Bruno Sammartino, Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner, Sid Vicious, and Eddie Guerrero, with a nice screenshot of a poetry in motion from the British Bulldogs, and it says new match types, 6 and 8-man tag, ladder match, cage match, and battle royal, with Eddie doing a nice moonsault off of a ladder, and battle intergender heavyweight champion Andy Kaufman. I mean, listen, if you've watched Man on the Moon and then ventured into the world of Andy Kaufman, even if you just liked his story with Jerry Lawler or the show Taxi, here you go. Andy Kaufman's here. Now, that's kind of cool what they did with, like, he's in the game. Bruno Sammartino's not really associated with wrestling at this point. He's clearly not on good terms with WWE yet until kind of his Hall of Fame years later. So it's kind of cool that where you might not see him anywhere else, Legends of Wrestling somehow pulled him into their game.
Yeah, and I mean, this, you know, we talk a lot about how a front and a back cover can really help sell the game in terms of like setting expectations. I mean, this game looks dope. from the front and back cover. I mean, it's got all the big players on there, and you know exactly what you're getting into right from the start. You know, rated T for teen because of blood and violence, and boy, is there a lot of blood in this game.
Now, here's my favorite part. Features supported by this game. Do you know what's not supported here? HDTV, which is at the time was 480p.
What a time!
Yeah, what a time! But
what a time!
Custom soundtracks,
simpler times.
Custom soundtracks were available in this game, and you're gonna want that. You're gonna want to add your own soundtrack to this game because we'll take you through right now the songs that are available, that songs that play on repeat through everything. Now, keep in mind, this game comes out in 2002, but it's set in like the 80s. But the songs are like current songs for the time.
Yes.
So you have Saliva, Superstar, Trapped, Headstrong. Now this one's interesting. This one's interesting. Earshot has a song named Headstrong as well. Earshot also with Getaway and We Fall, We Stand. Your favorite of the few, I think, Glassjaw's Cosmopolitan Blood Loss. My favorite of them is The Used, A Box Full of Sharp Objects, Hometown Hero with Questions, and Alien Breed with Colorblind.
I mean, this is a great soundtrack
For a Tony Hawk game, yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, but the only band in this entire lineup that I associate with wrestling, Saliva.
Oh, I was going to say Trapped, because it was my first backyard entrance theme. And ironically
I was
enough,
thinking Saliva did Batista's theme song, and
Click Click Boom was everywhere.
yes.
But not only that, it was my backyard theme song, and then my first ever match was a battle royal, and they just played like a continuous song for everyone, and I was out first, and that song played, and I was like, oh, "This is my destiny."
Oh god, Nick Stapp's got a bone to pick with you.
Yeah, probably. He's got a lot of bones to pick with me. That's why we're gonna take him out at FWF Live.
It's gonna happen.
But George, there's actually a fourth version of this game, and it is the Game Boy Advance version. And we'll start with the cover. It's the same cover as GameCube. It is actually the purple. But the actual... these wrestling legends get regulated to one of the most amateur Game Boy Advance developments ever. That's kind of rough. But it has 40 different wrestlers, exhibition, career, and tournament modes. But if you look at it, it doesn't look awful. It keeps the elements, at least, of the Legends of Wrestling games. And this one especially, like the select screen looks close to the select screen of the consoles. You know, your health bar looks the same as the consoles. They tried, but I don't know if they actually succeeded.
Yeah, they definitely tried. I mean, I understand handheld title. You gotta take all this, can't compare it 1-to-1. But we've played Game Boy Advance wrestling games in the past, and I don't know if this, we're going to do the full version of this as a separate episode, but looking at it, I think there are other Game Boy Advance wrestling titles that outshine this one, but
oh, of course.
We'll have to see what happens. We've talked about the artwork, we've talked about the game modes, and at this point, John, there are just a few more things to talk about, so I guess I just want to know, did you know? Did you know this game contains Eddie Guerrero? However, at the time of release, he re-signed with WWE.
Did you know also Rob Van Dam was excluded from this roster after appearing in the first game as he returned to WWE as well?
Did you know this game starts at 99 cents on eBay and works its way up to $15 complete and $199 brand new?
Damn, I'm glad I'm not in the brand new game business. But George, your favorite part, there's actually some cheat codes.
Oh, I love it.
So you can actually get infinite green coins, and this is by completing the career mode with every character in Legends of Wrestling. That is a lot. I wouldn't have the patience to do that. But hey, to each their own. If you if you are out there and you want to do it, go for it.
Yeah, but listen, John. I'm sore from the training. I've got anxiety about the match coming up in a couple of weeks. I need to relax a little bit. Would you mind taking us through some R&R, some ratings and reviews?
All right, let's do it. We actually have 4 consoles to review here, so bear with me. We'll start with Metacritic gives the Game Boy Advance version a 24 out of 100. The GameCube a 59 out of 100, same with the PS2, and the Xbox 62 out of 100. Now, being almost identical games, that's a little odd, but, maybe it just ran a little smoother. Now, All Games gives the Game Boy Advance a 1 out of 5 stars. EGM gives the GameCube a 6 out of 10. Eurogamer gives the PS2 a 5 out of 10. Are you ready for this one? Game Informer gives the Game Boy Advance version a .75 out of 10. That's not even 1. The GameCube a 6.75 out of 10. Same with the Xbox, and a 7 out of 10 for the PS2. GameSpot with a 2.4 out of 10 for the Game Boy Advance, and a 6 out of 10 for the GameCube and PS2, with a 6.2 for the Xbox. GameSpy with a 1 out of 5 for the Game Boy Advance, and a 2 out of 5 across the board elsewhere. GameZone with a 3.5 out of 10 for the Game Boy Advance, and a 6.9 for the GameCube, 6.7 for the PS2, and a 6.5 for the Xbox. IGN with a 2 out of 10 on the Game Boy Advance. This seems to be a trend here. 6.9 out of 10 for the GameCube and the PlayStation 2, with a 6.8 for the Xbox. Nintendo Power. Wow, here we go. 2.6 out of 5 for the Game Boy Advance, and a 2.9 out of 5 for the GameCube. They're really sticking by their product here, trying to push that Game Boy Advance version, huh? OPM US gives the PS2 version a 3 out of 5 stars, and OXM US gives the Xbox a 6.5 out of 10. So overall, it seems like this game is just a little bit above average. Obviously, the Game Boy Advance version is just complete crap, and GameSpot actually nominated GameSpot actually nominated the Game Boy Advance version for its 2002 Worst Game on Game Boy Advance award, which actually went to Mortal Kombat Advance.
Oh boy!
So at least it was in good company.
That one now?
Yeah, at least it was in good company, but it actually fluctuates, it seems like, between the PlayStation and the Xbox versions for being the favorite here, though some of them, like GameZone, IGN, kind of put the GameCube version up there. GameCube always had shorter load times, but you're always missing that something. I mean, this one, I don't think it had all the interviews. The textures just weren't the same as they were, obviously, on PlayStation and Xbox. But it was cool to see, the WWE games later on didn't come out. SmackDown vs. Raw didn't come out, obviously, for PlayStation. We weren't in that era where they came out for everything. So we did have the Day of Reckonings and all that. We were missing the commentary. So it's good to see a GameCube game get the same amount put into it across the board.
Yeah, and I feel like that's always the argument that could be made about the GameCube games is it's like a double-edged sword. Loading times and all that are always short, but like you said, you're always missing something. And GameCube, I think we've mentioned that definitely before on the podcast. One of the unsung heroes of the console wars.
One of my
everyone always forgets about how great the GameCube was.
Yeah, one of my favorites, especially because you could just pop it in and you could be off playing a game almost immediately. You don't have to wait for any loads.
Yeah. Now, John, we're running a little long here. A lot of time is going in here. But speaking of time, do you think it's time to rate the game?
The game!
All right, George Feis.
Ooh, you flipping the script on me.
Legends of Wrestling 2. Now, keep in mind, Legends of Wrestling 1, we both future endeavored. Legends of Wrestling 2. Will you play it forever?
Woo!
Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
Oh, I'm so torn. I feel like it had so much potential, but the game itself was just the controls were weird. It felt like to do everything. You just took forever to forever. Yeah, I think I'm out. I'm future endeavoring this one.
You're fired!
All right. Johnny Clash. Legends of Wrestling 2. Will you play it forever or future endeavor?
All right, so I'm going to be the long-winded one here. When these games came out, I had Legends 1 and I had Showdown Legends of Wrestling. I completely skipped this one. I think because Legends of Wrestling, the first one, was so lacking that I didn't want to go through that again. What are they going to really upgrade, blah, blah, blah. It had no buzz about it. I didn't really care. Playing it today, I realized they did actually improve a lot from the first game. I thought, whether it's just the entrances or the entrance videos, the music, the way the gameplay was still too similar, but they added the ladder and the cage match, which was kind of cool. So between that and the career mode, you do have a little more to do in this game. Playing it with you was a lot of fun, but we said that we can't really look at it as playing it with someone. Like, would we play it forever just because me and you had fun playing Clash at the Feast? We stopped Clash at the Feast, and we kind of both went, oh, thank God that's over. So I know what's in store for Showdown Legends of Wrestling. So for this, I'm going to say future endeavor.
You're fired!
All right, another double fuge. Let's see if maybe, next year we'll visit Showdown and we'll see if that's the last one in this series, right?
Yeah, that's it, because these kind of paved the way for WWE years later in 2009 to make Legends of WrestleMania, which obviously is far, far away from this game. Like, playability-wise, it's basically the SmackDown vs. Raw of that year, plus the Legends, and, it missed...
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We're missing that branding in this game. It's definitely there in that game.
All right, well, another double fuge. I'm excited to see what Showdowns bring to the table. That's a game that I have no experience with, so I'm very excited, and I believe that we may have a guest for that episode when the time comes next year.
But George, speaking of Clash at the Feast, let's talk about our weekly tournament. So, youtube.com/GameMarks podcast for this week's episode. Last week we also settled February and ya boy, Johnny Clash.
Oh boy. Did you ever take February decisively?
Now, let's say this. Every time we've played No Mercy, either my internet sucks, either the application we're using to actually play against each other is not really on my side. For some reason, I took The Undertaker. You took Kurt Angle, and I just steamrolled you for 2 matches.
It was
And
nuts.
I took February. But unfortunately, last week was WCW NWO Thunder. You chose Scott Steiner. I chose Scott Hall. Then you chose Wrath, and I chose Sting. And you kind of flipped it on me because you steamrolled me in Thunder. That and $1.50 will get you a cup of coffee. So for what that's worth, you're leading 2-0 in March as of right now. But check out YouTube for this week's and see if maybe, I inched back or maybe George closed the door. But George, that was us against each other in the video game world. But let's talk about real life for a second, because we all saw how your training was going last week, and I'm gonna post a little footage again today so everyone could see, what you've been working on, because we have a match April 8th, WrestleMania weekend. We're kicking it off. Me and you.
First WrestleMania my first match is Mania weekend. That's one hell of a booking schedule I got.
Yeah, right? And we are taking on off the hop ropes Troy Nelson and Nick Stapp. Now, Troy's been talking a lot of crap. He's been talking a lot of shit on social media. He's a real keyboard warrior. He popped into Major Pod Networks, boozing with the toys, and started talking about good old Johnny Clash. Maybe he's sleeping on George Feis. But all I'm saying is the last time I saw Troy Nelson in a wrestling locker room, I was booked on the show and he was a referee. So what does that tell you? Because sometimes, you can't have the beer gut and expect to win. Sometimes you can't be 2 sheets to the wind and expect to win a wrestling match, a professional wrestling match. Nick Stapp, we love you. You're our unofficial third host forever. We are going to have a friendly competition. We will be highly competitive. We will compete against each other, see which podcast reigns supreme. But Troy Nelson, I cannot wait to drive your face into the mat and mush it around and treat you like the piece of shit you are. How's that, George?
I can't follow that. I got goosebumps. All I know is I have one request. I just need you to hit that move that I hate. I just need you to hit that on
the AIFU.
Yeah, that move.
All right,
I refuse
I'll
to say
think
the
of
name.
a variation. Of it.
I would like you to hit someone with that move.
All right, I'll try. But George, I mean, that kind of wraps up this week's episode. I had fun playing Legends of Wrestling, but obviously not too much fun. But what are we playing?
Have fun playing with me.
Exactly.
And playing Legends
what are we
of Wrestling,
playing?
But it's not
next week.
Oh, guys. Right now, as I'm saying this, some excellent music is hopefully playing behind me because it is time for the excellence of execution. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. It's time for the Bret Hart video game retrospective. We did it. We are here. It is time next week. Full episode on the video game history of Bret the Hitman Hart.
And not only that, we will be also releasing this, not with the episode, because, it takes a little more work to make a video. We will be releasing this in video form as well, so everything we talk about, you could actually see happening on the screen. Bret Hart has been in so many video games, and we are going to take you through all of them. There's actually one stat I can't wait to reveal and kind of dive into. I want to know which games him and Owen have been in together.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can think of a couple. I mean, this week's game. Right off the bat. Yeah, for sure. He's definitely in. Oh, wait a second, John. If we're doing the retrospect of Bret Hart next week, there's not necessarily a game to play. We have to settle the month of March. So I got an idea. It's time for your good friend George Feis to issue a challenge to you.
Oh.
I'm challenging you to a match in Warzone.
Call of Duty? We're going one-on-one in Rust? I'll see you in Verdansk, buddy.
WWF Warzone for the N64.
Oh,
Me
baby.
versus you. Best 2 out of 3.
Let's do it. Oh, man. Okay, I'm excited now.
But, John, is that it? Are we putting a bow? I'm antsy. I'm ready for next week's episode. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to doing this for so long.
I actually got to go put an eat right in the microwave right after this because I'm starving. But yeah, George.
Me too.
Take us home.
All right. Well, that's going to do us for us this week on the Game Marks podcast. Please check out all of our merchandise at GameMarksPod.com/shop. It is the best way besides listening to support the podcast, and be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to wherever great podcasts can be found. Guys, wash your hands, social distance, wear your mask, get the vaccine if you are eligible. Johnny Clash, we are going to kick some off the hop rope ass April 8th. Troy, I got your number, and I'm going to be calling you on the hotline. Johnny,
oh, baby.
Say goodbye.
Game over, Troy Nelson. Will you stop crying?
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.
Hi everyone, this is David C. Anderson, the commissioner of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, and I'm inviting you to check out my brand new podcast, Chat 'em Up. Each week I bring an infotaining look at all of the recent happenings, along with stories, conversations with guests, and more. The podcast can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, or wherever fine podcasts are found. New episodes of Chat 'em Up drop every Monday. Make sure you're following the podcast across social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Chat 'em Up Podcast. I'll chat with you soon.